Hey there, I'm Cahlen Lee, and today I'm going to be making my own wood sealant out of beeswax and a derivative of coconut oil in order to put it on all of the wood which is making up the inside structure of the yurt. So the reason I'm doing that is last winter I lived in a Mongolian Ger that was actually imported from Mongolia. And the reason I had to move out is because black mold formed on the wood itself, and it formed in areas close to air ventilation, which is carrying lots of moisture with it, so near doors and towards the bottom where air kind of comes in up under the walls of the yurt. So this yurt's even more exposed to moisture in the air. It has less layers and insulation. And so that's something I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with, especially as winter is approaching. So I got to keep moisture off of this wood. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take beeswax and I'm going to melt it down into carrier oil. So I'll be using caprylic acid, which is taken from coconut oil. And I'll probably be adding a little bit of essential oil. I'm thinking I'm going to use lavender or something like that. And then I'm just going to apply it all to the inside of this thing. And that should pretty much prevent it from growing mold. Well, we'll see anyway. Now in the outdoor kitchen where I cook most of my food, and this is where I'm going to make the wood polish. So I'm going to use this propane stove here to boil water in this pot or near boiling. And then I'm gonna fill this empty ghee jar with caprylic acid, which is a fat from coconut oil, and beeswax. So I'm gonna melt the beeswax into it slowly over time. And then once I'm done doing that, I'm going to add lavender oil, which is a antifungal, and it's also going to repel insects. Also, the caprylic acid, the fat that I'm going to use, it is antifungal as well. So I'm basically getting antifungal from two sides, from the oil itself and then from the essential oil of lavender, which I'm adding to it. I'm going to start by making sure I have enough water in this pot by taking the jar I'm going to use and placing it in, making sure it covers as much as possible while still leaving a little bit of room at the top in case this starts boiling, so it doesn't boil over too much. And I'm just going to turn on the gas. Do I hear it? Okay. Hear that going? All right, and then just take a little lighter, and it's going. Just go until it boils. I'm gonna go for a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 of the actual coconut oil to 1 amount of beeswax. So to make this work, I'm just gonna take this, and this is the caprylic acid, and I'm gonna fill this up to halfway. All right. Then I'm going to cut up the beeswax here, which can be a difficult process. The smaller pieces that you get, the quicker it's going to melt into the oil, but it can be kind of tedious to get that stuff off, so you may want to just go with bigger chunks and just heat it for longer. You can see I've got some of that beeswax chopped off here, so this is probably the recommended size, small, thin pieces like this, so in slices. But again, that can be tedious. So either you put the effort in here, chopping littler pieces so you don't have to cook it for too long, or you just do like this. Just cut off a big piece and say, well, I'm just gonna heat this for a really long time. So I'm gonna take this, drop it in there. So I want that oil line to come up to about 1/4, because I put halfway up, and then if I do 1/4, then that's a 2-to-1 ratio. Then I'm just gonna add the lavender oil that I got there and put it in the double boiler. Put the rest of the beeswax in there. I got it about 3/4 up, and I'm gonna add this lavender oil that I got from a farm here in Washington State. And I'm just gonna guess at this. You know, I've never done this before actually, so let's see how this goes. Alright, so what? Half the bottle or so? Half the bottle. Let's give it a smell test. Smells pretty lavendery. So that felt about right. I'll probably mix it in and then see how it smells. And if I want to have a little bit of the actual smell that I can pick up that feels like the right amount for me. So but let's just melt it. So right in here, water doesn't have to be actually boiling. It just needs to be pretty close to it. So I'm just going to leave this here for, I don't know, I'm guessing this is going to take maybe even an hour with that huge chunk. It could be like 20 minutes if you just did small pieces, but I think this one's going to take a little while. So we've got the water boiling. Probably going to turn the heat down in a second. I want to show you what it looks like as the beeswax starts to melt in. So just found this little stick on the ground I'm using to stir it. Just stir it every once in a while. You can feel that big chunk in there. I don't know if you can see it. It's going to take a little while for that part. Something I've decided to put in last minute, sort of something I've been debating for a while whether or not I even wanted to use it, is borax. So this stuff is basically a mineral they mine from someplace, and it's antifungal, so it's actually very strong antifungal, so adding it to the mixture gets me up to 3 things out of 4 things in the mixture which are antifungal. So the reason I'm not sure I want to use it, or that I was debating it, is because there's a little bit of concern about whether this is a healthy thing to be breathing. But it's something that we also, tons of people are just putting in with their laundry all the time. This is stuff you can get at any grocery store. It's generally considered safe by official authorities. So I'm going to say it's probably okay to use it, especially since it's going to be sealed in pretty well with something that hardens like beeswax. So another benefit of using borax is that it is a flame retardant. So my yurt is made of cloth, the wall is cloth, and so it burns easily. And if you add beeswax, which is a flammable substance, that will also burn more easily. So adding this makes it less likely, or reduces the likelihood that it's going to catch on fire, or rather increases how long it's going to take to get a flame going. So hopefully it mixes in. I don't really know how well borax mixes with oil. I know it will mix with oil if there's water, but I'm not using water here, so this is a little bit of an experiment. All right, that beeswax is mostly melted, so I'm going to add the borax, and I don't really know how much I should be using, so let's just wing it. Hope maybe whatever was extra would just settle at the bottom and it wouldn't really cause much problem. So that's how much. Well, you know what, I'm going to put a little more in. All right, so that's generally how much I put in. If you want to compare, or you want to see how this all works out, and then if it does work out, you can use that much, or if it doesn't, then we'll have a general sense for how to tune it. So looks like it's mixing in okay. Got the beeswax all melted and mixed into the oil, and got it off the burner. So now I'm going to show you what the borax mixture situation looks like. So you can kind of see the top and the bottom there. Much denser borax at the bottom, gravity pulling it down, and really not much at the top. And you can kind of see where it cuts off, starts forming here, but it gets thicker as it gets to the bottom. So it actually takes a little while to settle like that, so I'm just going to keep mixing it, and as it cools it'll actually take longer and longer for it to settle because the beeswax will get harder. In order to get it mixed in without me needing to stir it for probably like half an hour until it hardens, I'm actually going to place it into a bath of cold water and then stir it pretty vigorously at that point, because then the wax will get harder much quicker and kind of lock those pieces in where they are in the mixture so they can't actually settle down. All right, I'm gonna grab it, put it in the water, This is hot, and it's probably dumb of me to grab this, but not too bad. But I'd be careful if you're doing this. That thing was very hot at one point. All right, so now I'm just gonna mix it for, I don't know, a couple minutes until it starts to harden more towards the center. So it's several hours later. I let it cool, and I actually put it into the freezer so it would cool even more quickly. When I had it in the cold water, the little particles of borax actually very quickly started staying where they were on this plane rather than sinking down. So that worked pretty well. Looks like it's pretty well dispersed. When I touch it, it's a little bit grainy in a few places, like there's bigger chunks of borax, but when you run it through your fingers, it like dissipates into the rest of the mixture. So it gets pretty smooth when you actually apply it. You can see, remember it was pretty much liquid when we had it in the double boiler. It's pretty hard now, so actually digging in there, see these pieces? So it melts with heat, and it's soft enough that I should be able to just rub it on to this. So I'm actually going to use this cloth, which is extra from the wall and roof of the tent. Just going to rub it on there. And it looks pretty smooth. It makes it a little bit shinier. Ah, and it smells so good. All right, so I'm gonna take each beam off of the roof one at a time, apply this, and then I'm gonna go along the entire outside of the wall and just apply it with a cloth. And that should be pretty much it. I don't think any mold's gonna be growing on it. The only thing I'm worried about is it's got beeswax, it's got lavender, which is a flower. Am I gonna be attracting bees? I'm actually not too worried about that because the extracted oil from the flower is quite a bit different than the flower itself. But there's a little bit of a risk there. It's a good experiment, and I'll let you know how it goes. So thanks for stopping by and checking out what's going on in the yurt. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a like because that helps me out quite a bit. I hope you'll engage with me in the comments, ask me any questions that you have, and I'd be happy to respond. And if you want to see more videos like this, or you want to get an update on how this lasts and how it works as I go through the winter and into the fall, into the spring, then go ahead and hit subscribe and you'll see everything that I'm doing. All right, thanks for stopping by.